57-year-old man, once deeply in love with my wife of 26 years, terminated contact following her derogatory remarks about me and her infidelity with a familiar acquaintance. Known as Lucy, she was not only my spouse, but also a lifelong friend from college, dating back to a decade prior to our marriage. We spent 2 years in friendship, 1 year pursuing each other, and the remaining 7 years in a relationship. Our union endured various trials, including long distance due to work commitments in different cities. Lucy was more than just a wife and mother. She was my college confidante, understanding me like no other. Her deceit brought immense devastation. Recently, we attended our college reunion, an annual event for classes graduating 35 years ago, where her betrayal was unveiled. Yearly anticipated event featuring singers and celebrities, marked by performances from alumni. It was our class's turn to be the spotlight. Excitement coursed through us and our fellow classmates, eager for a reunion that showcased how we had all evolved over the years. Particularly enthusiastic were Lucy and I, as we were among the rare college couples who had endured marriage for so long. We entered with pride, flaunting our resilient relationship. Unbeknownst to me, this was a trap of my own construction. The evening was a joyous reconnection with old friends after years apart. It felt like reliving the best moments of life until Rick approached us. A known admirer of Lucy, everyone in our class was aware of his profound affection for her. Intellectually gifted and naturally attractive, Lucy had many suitors during college, including myself. Indeed, I was one of them. Despite not being a casual flirt, Rick tenaciously pursued Lucy through college and beyond, even when she was in a relationship with someone else. His persistence was unyielding, regardless of his knowledge that Lucy was dating me. As a secure partner, I managed to keep our relationship unaffected by his advances. Although everyone knew Lucy was far above Rick's league, he never relinquished his pursuit. Upon learning that Lucy had married me, Rick sent a text expressing the belief that she had made a mistake and expressing hope for my affection towards her. We found his behavior childish and romantic at the time and didn't hear from him until the reunion 35 years later. Surprisingly, Rick still harbored feelings for Lucy despite the passage of 35 years since college and 26 years since our marriage. All of us were greeted with hugs, and we responded in kind, except for Lucy, who chose to shake hands due to his unsettling gaze. Seated opposite Lucy, he gave her an unusual and intense stare that didn't escape anyone's notice. I found myself asking if his family had joined the reunion party, and he answered that he was single. He had been married briefly in just 40 seconds of his life, but it ended in divorce. My sympathy was expressed with a, "I'm sorry to hear that," and his response was dramatic, saying, "Well, yes, you should be sorry. You stole my love," followed by a fit of hysterical laughter. In my 30 seconds, I might have contemplated a physical altercation. But as we're nearing our 60 seconds, such matters hold little significance. Moreover, Rick isn't the type to inspire fear. He's more of an obnoxious, boastful guy you wouldn't pick for team sports. Although everyone heard his joke, no reaction followed, and the tension in the air was palpable, so we chose to dismiss it. However, Lucy grew unusually quiet. Nancy and I, who is our college friend, pulled Lucy aside for a chat. We aimed to cheer her up, suggesting she put the troublemaker out of her mind and enjoy the rest of the night. Recognizing that Lucy often dwells on things, both Nancy and I tried to ease her worries. Suddenly, Rick appeared unexpectedly. I suspect he had been observing us all along. To our surprise, he apologized, explaining that he hadn't intended to upset her. Instead, he claimed he wanted to make her happy, stating that despite the years apart and the changes time had brought to her appearance, she still had admirers. His words struck me as corny, and I told him to back off. He expressed sincere remorse for causing discomfort. Lucy requested he keep his distance, but he persisted in seeking her forgiveness so we could celebrate our last get-together together. These words prompted me to accept the past and move forward. That evening was clearly the finale for us to reunite with our old acquaintances and schoolmates, hence no need to dwell on the bygones. Lucy embraced him and advised him to release her and let go. We all hugged and proceeded to the dance floor to revel in the party. More people joined us, making it a pleasant experience. Later on, I observed Nancy and Lucy conversing with Rick, who was standing near them. He was joking around, dancing oddly if you understand my meaning. I felt relieved that this issue appeared to be resolved, allowing us to recall it fondly. I kept an eye on them to ensure Lucy was all right. Rick was whispering in her ear, and she smiled and agreed with him. Assuming Lucy wouldn't react strangely if something was inappropriate, I felt comfortable enjoying myself with friends. Later, I noticed Lucy and another classmate, Nancy, were absent. Initially, I wasn't concerned because we were all interacting independently. However, when they didn't return after some time, I started searching for them. I tried calling them first but received no response, suspecting the loud music might have drowned out their phones. 30 minutes later, Lucy came back with an unsettling demeanor. Although her appearance was unchanged, I felt like she had transformed. She grew unusually quiet and kept insisting I leave. Nancy appeared soon after, but Lucy and Nancy didn't speak a word to each other throughout the evening. I thought they'd quarreled due to their avoidance of eye contact. I persistently questioned Lucy about her apparent irritation and desire to depart early, but she remained mum. I wished to stay till the party ended, yet Lucy insisted on an early departure. Throughout the lengthy drive home, Lucy said nothing. I inquired repeatedly if she was well, and she responded she was merely weary and needed rest. This made me uneasy because she's typically lively, and her upset state without a known cause alarmed me. I asked if it pertained to Nancy, but she simply answered with a no, offering no additional details. I assumed she was tired and gave her space when we reached home. While most of our friends shared cheerful photos of the night and engaged in social media discussions about their happiness at the reunion and the possible finality of it all, Lucy retired to bed with closed eyes. It seemed like Lucy feigned sleep, but I suspected otherwise. Why do I think so? It was close to 2 a.m., and I had just fallen asleep after collapsing on the bed from exhaustion. Somehow, Lucy stirred me awake. Tears streaming down her face, she rested her head on my chest. I inquired if she was emotional due to reconnecting with her old friends, but she remained silent. Instead, she continued crying. I hugged her tightly as a show of support since she was unwilling to disclose her troubles. I let her vent her emotions until her tears finally ceased. Upon this, she confessed to having cheated on me with Rick, leaving me speechless and unable to ask further questions. I felt numb in shock, my mind racing with thoughts about the possible events that had unfolded. The last time I saw Lucy, she was dancing with Rick and Nancy along with others. For approximately an hour, the trio vanished. Upon Lucy's return, her countenance was somber, and she expressed a desire to depart from the gathering. She revealed that Nancy was privy to the circumstances, yet Lucy appeared enraged towards Lucy, explaining her distressed disposition. Unable to speak, I watched as she narrated the unfolding events. According to her account, while they were dancing, Rick repeatedly apologized for the humiliation he inflicted upon her, more so after rebuffing his advances multiple times. He lavished her with compliments, stating that in all his worldwide voyages, he had never encountered a woman as extraordinary as her. Lucy disclosed that she started to believe his flattery and succumbed to his apparent sincerity. He asked her if she would accompany him for a walk. Initially, she refused, but he pressed on, maintaining it would be their final encounter, and she deserved to learn his true feelings for her. She desired to listen to his sentiments, thus consented to stroll with him on the college lawn, seeking tranquility. During their walk, Rick openly disclosed his feelings, declaring his lifelong love for her and describing her as the most extraordinary woman on earth. She narrated numerous aspects of what he conveyed, yet the core message remained unchanged. Lucy acknowledged that she was under the influence and naively surrendered to his words. He started holding her hand while they walked, and in that instant, Lucy felt a massive weight of stress alleviate from her shoulders, rendering her strangely at ease. I won't dwell on further explicit details about what she revealed to me regarding their encounter, but she disclosed everything, absolutely everything. She also mentioned that her guilt-ridden conscience surfaced when they were engaged in the act, and she pushed him away. My mind was hazy, and my body felt devoid of sensation. She tried to elicit a response from me, but I remained speechless. I asked her for some time alone. She kept on weeping and expressing remorse. In time, I instructed her to go to sleep, promising to talk about the issue in the morning. She clung to me strongly, conveying her dread of losing me. I shut my eyes and lay there, repeatedly replaying the situation in my mind. I was contemplating the events until a peculiar detail suddenly stood out to me. Rick gave me an unusual, disquieting grin when Lucy returned from their kissing session. Although I didn't give it much thought then, I now believe that was his victorious smile, signifying he had finally won her over. This realization ignited a wave of anger and disgust within me. I was too agitated for self-pity, and sharing the bed with her became unbearable. I observed that she had drifted into a deep sleep after hours of crying. Quietly, I slipped out of bed, collected my laptop, wallet, and other necessities into a backpack, and left our house. Despite loving that woman, I felt an inexplicable distaste for her. For 26 years, we were married, and I found it hard to imagine a life without her. We had built a family and raised 2 children together, but I couldn't remain in our marriage. I was well acquainted with her, and if I hadn't left during the night, she would have probably dissuaded me from leaving. Consequently, I booked a hotel room and severed all ties by blocking her phone number and social media accounts. It wasn't until dawn that I finally dozed off. By morning, around 8 or 9 a.m., my phone began to ring persistently with calls from our children, a 24-year-old son and a 21-year-old daughter, who are both college students living on the same campus. Looking back, I now understand that my decision to abandon Lucy without warning that night was rash. I should have strategized more thoughtfully about how to manage the situation's aftermath. I have encountered stories of individuals who pretended everything was normal with their unfaithful partners while simultaneously plotting revenge and eventually revealing the infidelity. In my situation, it was impossible for me to behave normally towards Lucy following her actions. She wasn't just my spouse, but also my closest confidante, my better half in every aspect. I couldn't stomach the thought of deceiving her as she would instantly perceive it, and I didn't want to pretend in front of her. The concept of Lucy being unfaithful was something I never anticipated, so I had no prepared plan on how to manage such a predicament. Thus, when my children contacted me, I was without a strategy for what to say, but I needed to converse with one of them before they went to the police to report me missing. I opted to call my son, who is generally more composed and mature than my daughter. I disclosed to him that there was no tactful method to convey this news other than to tell him that his mother had been unfaithful to me the previous night, whether her partner was an ex-lover, admirer, stalker, or whatever you wish to label him. I explained that I required some time to come to terms with everything. Overwhelmed by the revelation that his mother had perpetrated such an action, he was left bewildered. We prided ourselves on our tight-knit, strong, and resilient family, maintaining a close bond throughout the years. Her confession had shattered this idyllic image. Our children, relatives, and friends all admired our united family unit. It was inconceivable to him that his mother could be capable of such an act. He clung desperately to the hope that there must be some misunderstanding, constantly demanding clarity and a detailed account. I worried that exposing the full truth would crush his spirit before he even began to live independently. I voiced my hope that it was all a joke, but alas, she had confessed her infidelity to me. At 24, he's no stranger to heartache, but I acknowledge the unique strain this situation is placing on him. I asked him to keep the information confidential until I did so myself. Texted my daughter about work-related stress, leading to extended absence, ending phone conversations. During this time, she thought I was on a business trip, while both son and Lucy knew about our separation. Over the ensuing days, I researched competent lawyers and sought a resolution for my predicament online. It was during this search that I found an online community where numerous men had faced situations similar to mine. I learned about their strategies for retribution against unfaithful partners, including feelings of resentment towards the mistress. I empathize with these emotions, but I wouldn't consider seeking revenge on Lucy. I continue to love her deeply, and it would be dishonest to claim I could ruin her life so callously. I don't wish to do so, but I also can't reconcile with her anymore. Reconciliation is out of the question for me. I'm uncertain about handling this situation and whether I can fully recover. I have numerous obligations such as work, family, property management, and more. I have an appointment with a lawyer scheduled for tomorrow, seeking guidance on the matter. I will share updates once there is progress. Thanks for all your support. In retrospect, I overlooked some crucial details. Both Lucy and I were management consultants, but in our mid-40s, we decided to step away from full-time employment. Lucy pursued her lifelong interest in writing, while I started consulting for startups. Since I am self-employed, I don't have a fixed office space. One of you raised concerns about Lucy potentially coming to my workplace. However, due to working from home and visiting various client sites, I manage multiple clients concurrently. So far, Lucy hasn't been able to trace me. 60 is fast approaching for me, and we have been preparing for retirement over a long period, with plans to buy a countryside beach house next year. We have already scouted some properties and are in discussions with property owners. Luckily, the purchase hasn't been finalized yet, or it would have brought about different difficulties. Lucy has tried to reach out to me since I stopped responding. The day following my first post, I met with a lawyer who suggested that I inform our adult children about the separation. We also talked about property division, and I've opted for an even split between Lucy and myself. No, my response won't involve denying Lucy her wealth. She is entitled to half of our assets, which she has rightfully earned. The same applies to the separation, something we both deserve. I comprehend her situation well. She might be ready to surrender her right to the assets in an attempt to reconcile our family. As divorce documents were being drafted, I arranged a secret meeting with my children. I asked my son to take his sister to a restaurant without revealing I would attend. He consented. My daughter's response was dramatic. Upon seeing me, she peppered me with questions, one of which revolved around whether I had been unfaithful to her mother since our communication ceased. She appeared distressed, causing me great pain, but I needed to maintain composure for them and the revelation coming up. I comforted her and affirmed that I hadn't been with anyone else. Gradually, I shared the truth with them. Although my son was aware of the situation, he wasn't privy to my future plans. My daughter was heartbroken to learn that their mother had been unfaithful. For the past 15 days, she had resided with Lucy following my departure from home. She embraced me and apologized for her hostility. They asked if I might reconsider saving our marriage, but I clarified that I intended to file for divorce. Their emotional breakdown was distressing, yet they acknowledged my anguish. They promised to aid me during this difficult time. I emphasized that I was separating from their mother, not from them. My daughter apprised me that she hadn't been eating or sleeping well. Lucy had been crying and pacing nervously while trying repeatedly to contact me. She visited multiple offices of my clients, seeking information on my whereabouts, but they all confirmed I hadn't visited for 2 weeks. When our daughter asked if there was a problem between us given my unusual behavior, Lucy remained silent. Instead, she continued crying and sequestered herself in her room. I asked my daughter to stay home with her mother until our divorces are finalized. I noticed their sadness turning into anger when we talk about their mother. They seem disappointed by her as well. I understand it. They've also experienced loss. Our family is broken, and one person is responsible for the breakup. But I don't want or need them to hold resentment towards their mother, so I urged them to provide support instead. Incredibly, a few days later I received a message from Rick about Lucy. He suggested he could take her if I was going to divorce her following her infidelity. I told him that Lucy is free to make her own decisions. I then blocked him. I assume he contacted me to upset me, but I didn't feel any anger towards him. I won't let him manipulate me with his stalking tactics. I didn't wed, cherish, or rely on him. All that I did with him was Lucy, who deceived me, causing me significant pain. I'm not insecure. He can have her if that's what she wants. It doesn't trouble me. Today should see the mailing of the divorce papers, and I'm yet to hear from my daughter about Lucy's response. An update will follow once the divorce is finalized. Meanwhile, there are numerous issues to address: my possessions, retirement, and children's welfare. Hey folks, it's been a while since my last post. I apologize for the delay. There's much on my plate. First off, my divorce has been settled. Upon receiving the divorce papers, Lucy didn't react positively. She was distraught. Up until then, she had thought my anger would subside and I'd return to her. But the arrival of those papers burst that bubble. She demanded a meeting with me through my lawyer, but he refused. He claimed she was getting more than half of all assets, far too much in his opinion. She replied, stating that she desired only me, not any possessions during our divorce. I had informed you of my acquaintance with her. Before signing the papers, she wished to meet with me. She was self-assured about her powers, believing a single FaceTime call could alter my decision on separation. She was correct. If we had met, I might have reconsidered. I continued loving her and couldn't stand witnessing her decline, but I couldn't compromise my dignity. She treated me thoughtlessly. For what purpose did she disrupt our family? Let us not delve into that darkness. I merely wish to say I could not endure living that way. My daughter demanded an urgent meeting with me. She shared that her mother was critically ill, necessitating hospitalization. Lucy had plunged into a profound depression and rejected any medication or nourishment for her health. Admitted to the hospital, she subsisted on liquid food since she ceased eating entirely. Many of you might view me as uncaring and self-absorbed now, considering if I genuinely loved Lucy based on my apparent lack of concern towards her deteriorating health. Allow me to clarify. Have any of you faced betrayal? If not, you cannot comprehend the torment I'm enduring. To say that I loved and admired my wife would be an understatement. I revered her. We've been together for nearly 3 decades. She is the mother of my children. As Rick partially suggested, finding a woman like Lucy is incredibly difficult. She embodies intelligence, talent, compassion, and all qualities one desires in a partner. Consequently, I ensured to treat her with great respect. But what did she reciprocate? She betrayed me at my most vulnerable moment. I never imagined in my wildest dreams that she would betray me, let alone with Rick. A few days after Lucy received the divorce papers, Nancy contacted me. She inquired about my condition and brought up the topic of Lucy. I shared with her that we were undergoing a split-up. She seemed unfazed and admitted she was aware of the cause. Later, she phoned me. In our talk, Nancy asked how I found out about the affair. I divulged that Lucy herself had confessed to it. She conveyed her apologies and disclosed that she had attempted to caution Lucy regarding Rick. Nancy stated that she had advised her against going out with him, but Lucy chose to disregard her advice. Nancy shared something that strengthened my conviction in my course of action. Her story about the incident differed slightly from what Lucy told me. As per Nancy, they were enjoying a dance when Rick approached and started flirting with Lucy. He whispered something in her ear, which Lucy said was an apology from Rick. Lucy was uneasy with his advances and tried to intervene, but noticed that Lucy all of a sudden seemed to appreciate his company. When Rick suggested a walk, Lucy sought advice from Nancy. Nancy vehemently disapproved due to Rick's unnerving nature. Nevertheless, Lucy eventually departed for the walk with Rick. Nancy wasn't overly concerned because Lucy had also expressed an interest in accompanying him. Later, Nancy noticed that Lucy was missing. Concerned for Lucy's safety, she went looking for her. Surprisingly, she found them in the college swimming pool's changing room. However, Lucy reported they were on the lawn. Nancy admitted to catching them in a compromising situation, and their activities ceased only when Nancy was spotted approaching them. Thus, it wasn't Lucy's guilty conscience that halted the affair, rather, it was Nancy who interrupted them. Initially, I still harbored some respect for Lucy due to her prompt admission of her mistakes. This confession provided a sense of closure, despite the devastating nature of her betrayal. I accepted her explanation that alcohol led to her indiscretion, but it transpired that Lucy hadn't strayed because she was intoxicated. Rather, it was a deliberate act driven by her desires. The college swimming pool was at least a 15-minute walk away, and its changing rooms were hidden within the facility, making an accidental visit unlikely. Her actions were intentional. After relating her version of events, Nancy asked if I could forgive Lucy and allow her to restore our relationship since she had admitted her errors. However, Nancy was unaware that Lucy's confession differed from the truth, and I failed to correct or respond to her query. It was when Lucy lied to me that I lost all respect for her. At the same time, my children alerted me to Lucy's deteriorating state, indicating she might harm herself. After learning what had transpired, I phoned Nancy to share our prior discussion, during which Lucy told me a different account. I asked her to talk frankly with Lucy. It appeared that Lucy was hiding something, causing her great distress. Besides, I made it clear to Nancy that I now understood the truth about that night and would not forgive nor reconcile with Lucy. I urged her to prioritize her own well-being since I knew she was purposely inflicting harm on herself in the hopes of mending things. Naturally, I know Lucy, don't I? Nancy then met up with Lucy and reported back to me. While Lucy is still struggling with her weakness and depression, my daughter informed me that she has improved significantly. Moreover, Lucy signed the divorce papers, bringing me a sense of relief. I intend to finish my outstanding tasks and then go on a solo trip. I've chosen to forego my former plan of staying put, as I fear it would drive me to madness. While I acknowledge I could have managed the situation better than some in this community who experienced similar predicaments, I did my best given the circumstances. Let's see what lies ahead. I'll keep you all informed. Greetings, everyone. I trust you're all well. It's been a year since my last update. I wish I could say time has been swift, but it hasn't felt that way to me. I stayed in a motel for a few months before renting a condo for an additional period until the divorce was finalized. As for work, as planned, I shifted towards remote clients completely. As for the savings we had set aside for our retirement home, Lucy received half, and I split my remaining half equally between my two adult children. They can handle it responsibly, so I have no need for it myself. Regarding Lucy, she's currently in therapy. Nancy frequently communicates with Lucy and occasionally checks up on me. She disclosed something unexpected about Lucy, which I didn't anticipate. It's important to note that this information is from Nancy, who continues to support Lucy, so consider it cautiously, but she has no motive to deceive me. The astonishing revelation, despite my frequent assertions of knowing Lucy well, even post her infidelity, this revelation made me ponder if I ever truly understood her. I had always viewed Lucy as a strong woman with a robust mind, but it appears loneliness affected her deeply. Lucy started conversing with Rick, and he responded by expressing his affection for her until he found out about our divorce. Curiously, once he learned of the divorce, he started behaving strangely and essentially stopped contacting her. Lucy was distraught when she realized Rick ceased communicating with her after informing him about the divorce. She recalled his proclamations of affection and yearning for her presence regardless of the circumstances. However, it was revealed that his intentions were merely flirtatious, leading to a casual physical relationship with Lucy. He asserted his inability to engage in a marital or emotional commitment with Lucy due to her independent nature. It's almost hard to believe that Lucy implored Rick for a relationship given his questionable character. She couldn't have sunk lower in the eyes of many, as Rick's unsavory reputation was well known. Rick unveiled his true motives by confessing his interest in a physical relationship alone, while Lucy sought emotional solace rather than mere intimacy. He expressed satisfaction with his live and partner arrangement. It seems that all of his love and adoration were feigned. During a dispute between Lucy and Rick, he concluded it with a harsh remark. He subtly mocked Lucy by implying that he had successfully deceived her. He asserted that he considered Lucy to be intelligent, but he deceived her instead, suggesting his superior intellect. This led Lucy to spiral further into depression since she lost everything due to his deceitful falsehoods. The latest information I got about Lucy was a fortnight ago. My daughter had been residing with Lucy since I left the house. She required companionship to help manage her depression. However, after living with her for a year, my daughter discovered that they could no longer live together peacefully due to Lucy's increasing difficulties. Lucy, who was once strong-willed, has turned into an insecure and unpredictable person, craving others' presence and attention. She has also developed delusional tendencies and confusion. Lucy has evolved into a dominating and clingy mother. She harasses my children with calls and messages if they don't reply promptly. She suggested my son live with her before marriage, but he refused. She's been urging my daughter to stay home rather than socialize or travel. As adults, my children should not be confined. Whenever my daughter attempted to discuss Lucy's intrusive actions, Lucy would become emotional, expressing her worry about losing them, particularly after my passing. My children reassured her they had no plans to leave her and were attempting to assist her with her depression. Nevertheless, they cautioned her that if she persisted in being so overbearing, they might need to reevaluate the situation. This prompted heated disputes, with the children accusing Lucy of failing to aid them during difficult periods. This conduct is puzzling to me, and my children are equally bewildered by it. In the end, we had to address the issue with her, making it clear that her actions were responsible for disrupting our formerly content and affectionate family, transforming what was once a peaceful and secure household into something fractured and distorted. She struggled to accept that her own children held her accountable for everything. My daughter left home 2 weeks ago, explaining that she had done her best to help Lucy, but couldn't put her life on hold to care for her. I think my daughter's choice was justifiable, as she needs to progress with her life, while Lucy needs to reclaim control of hers. Though some might find pleasure in witnessing a cheating ex-wife struggling, I couldn't find joy in this situation. I genuinely felt sorry for her plight. Her unwise decisions have led her to a lifetime of hardship. I hope she can find redemption. Once a self-assured, independent woman who didn't depend on individuals like Rick for emotional sustenance. Regarding my personal odyssey, the last year has seen me residing in 4 distinct countries, delving into native cultures, indulging in diverse culinary delights, and adapting to entirely novel lifestyles and exciting adventure. Initially, I was disheartened that my retirement plans veered off course. I'd always imagined tranquil coexistence during my later years with Lucy. However, now I derive contentment from the diversity of cultures and lifestyles I've encountered. I've been fortunate to meet remarkable individuals in various parts of the world. To make it clear, I haven't engaged in any new romantic entanglements, nor am I pursuing one currently. I'll maintain an open mind about what the future may bring, and will keep you informed if substantial developments occur. Greetings to all, my apologies for the lack of updates over the past few years. For the past 2.5 years, noteworthy events have been scarce, with exception to my extensive travels to over a dozen countries and the rekindled fervor for painting. I initially started this thread to discuss my deceitful wife, but I found little reason to update it with travel stories, hence my silence. However, a recent occurrence has led me to share an update. Last month, after 4 years, I met Lucy again, the occasion being my son's upcoming wedding. Yes, my son is getting married and has found his life partner. He contacted me 2 months before the ceremony, expressing the wish for Lucy and me to meet the bride's parents. At first, I was reluctant, suggesting a direct meeting at the wedding itself. But upon reflection, I understood that this wasn't about me. It was about fulfilling my role as a father. A week before the wedding, the girl's parents kindly invited us to dinner. Despite not confirming my attendance, I chose to attend at the last minute. Seeing Lucy in this context was somewhat difficult, as I would have preferred for one of us to be absent. However, I realized it was essential for me to attend due to our son. Upon arrival, Lucy seemed taken aback. She appeared altered, and her eyes suggested she had experienced changes. She greeted me politely, but I could tell she was tense. Over the years, she always kept her long, thick hair, even as we aged, but it seemed she had aged more than anticipated in those 4 years. Remarkably, they seated us next to each other at the table, leading me to suspect that our son hadn't informed them this would be our first meeting in years. It is noteworthy that this circumstance did not cause any problems. In public, she kept quiet, but once we were alone, She noted that I seemed healthier and happier. I agreed, attributing this to eliminating all negativity from my life. This took her aback for a moment, causing her to look around to see if anyone was listening. She asked about my relationship status, but I avoided answering, saying it wasn't relevant to her. Throughout our conversation, I mostly avoided eye contact with her, focusing on others instead. After dinner, when it was time to depart, I said goodnight to everyone with hugs, but just nodded goodbye to Lucy, telling her to take care. It seemed she hadn't expected that, as she too stood up during my farewells. It all happened quickly, so I don't think it felt awkward for the others. Interestingly, my encounter with Lucy was rather ordinary. She appeared either intimidated by me or hesitant to carry on a deeper conversation. Whether she was overthinking or not, I didn't delve too deeply into it. Following the event and stepping outside, my son offered to spend the next few days with me, but I turned him down, promising to call instead. I then drove to my hotel. Incidentally, I don't have a permanent home. Mostly, I'm out of town, and when in town, I stay at a motel. Adjusting to a nomadic lifestyle after being a family man for 26 years wasn't easy, but I've adapted to this free-spirited existence and am thoroughly enjoying it. On another note, I have some news regarding my personal life. I have a new companion now. Indeed, during my visit to Tokyo 2 years ago, I met Ashleen, who is 52 years old. She had just emerged from an abusive relationship and was relishing her first solo trip. We bonded while hiking up a mountain. Our friendship blossomed as we both avoided pursuing romantic relationships. Following our time in Tokyo, I was bound for South Korea, and she was destined for Thailand. We maintained contact over the subsequent 6 months before deciding to coordinate our trips. Over the past year and a half, we've traversed more than 8 countries together. Initially, during the first 2 months of traveling, we refrained from engaging in any physical or emotional entanglements. Instead, we took our time cultivating our understanding of each other, and it was clear from the outset that marriage wasn't a consideration. For now, we prefer to savor the journey of traveling and discovering new destinations. My children were familiar with Ashleen, but opted not to inform Lucy about this for fear of exacerbating her depression again. After reaching the hotel, I contacted my son to clarify why I declined his offer to stay at his place. I told him that Ashleen was with me in town and couldn't be left alone. I requested Ashleen to attend our upcoming wedding. He showed enthusiasm, yet concern over Lucy's response. I stressed that Ashleen should join us as she's my companion and ought to meet my family. My son invited my daughter into the conversation for a second opinion, but primarily to discuss the matter with us. She concurred that Ashleen should mingle with the family. With the wedding just a week away, I took advantage of this time to acquaint Ashleen with Kentucky by giving her a city tour since it was her first visit here. On the day of the wedding, upon our arrival, I noticed Lucy glaring at me. She appeared displeased when she saw me holding hands with Ashleen at the venue. I had alerted Ashleen about potential unfavorable conduct from Lucy, but she reassured me she could manage the situation. For the first time since our separation, I observed Lucy's controlling behavior. Upon approaching us, she grabbed my arm and attempted to lead me away. I asserted I didn't want a private talk with her then. She inquired if Ashleen was my girlfriend or intended bride. I stated it wasn't relevant to her and requested privacy since guests were coming, and some were noticing Lucy's distress. She declared she didn't care about others and demanded resolution of the issue. My daughter intervened, trying to calm her, but Lucy refused to comply with her daughter. We reminded her that she was disturbing the wedding ceremony. In response, she disregarded everyone else's concerns. At this stage, our usually peaceful daughter transformed into someone formidable. She didn't just lose her cool, she sternly reprimanded Lucy in a manner I hadn't anticipated from our child. In a quiet yet forceful manner, she addressed her mother. "Yes, Mom, you should have walked with Dad at the wedding, but you chose another man instead. Either acknowledge this truth and move on immediately, or I'll ensure you're removed from the ceremony before it starts." I felt an urge to step in, as any parent might when witnessing a child in turmoil, yet my daughter was more resolute than I could ever be regarding her mother. As she accused Lucy with a pointed finger and spoke with conviction, I sensed a loosening of Lucy's grip on my wrist. I observed Lucy's face contort as she released me, and she fixed her gaze on me for 3 seconds. In those moments, her expression changed from rage to betrayal to sadness without uttering a word. She departed thereafter, failing to introduce herself to Ashleen. On a brighter note, my daughter later apologized to Ashleen, who reciprocated with a hug. I assured her there was no need for an apology. My daughter is resilient, and I take pride in her. I observed my daughter appeared emotional when she said, "It's her responsibility now, Dad. We've endured enough. She should move forward or distance herself from you." Lucy had made everyone's life difficult over the years, yet she sought sympathy and care from certain acquaintances. My children lack a family home for gatherings on special occasions, an absence I acknowledge is partly my responsibility. Throughout the rest of the wedding, Lucy grew increasingly upset that my children supported me. She either secluded herself in a corner or felt more excluded than a mother of the groom should be. She also declined to join us for the family picture. Nancy contacted me a few days ago and mentioned that Lucy perceived this as an ego blow, witnessing me move on quickly in life while she remained unmarried. I informed Nancy that we are severing ties with Lucy's drama and leaving her to fend for herself. She can do as she wishes. I yearn for tranquility during the remaining years of my life. Contemplating a move closer to my offspring to offer them a family dwelling for harmonious reunions is on my mind. Although they've grown, the recent wedding served as a reminder that another phase of life is imminent, potentially leading me to the role of a grandparent. Yet, this development will not be disclosed to Lucy, and I am content with that arrangement. Should Ashleen consent when the time arrives, we shall proceed. I express my appreciation for the guidance and heartfelt stories shared by some of you. May you all continue to honor and uphold your marriage vows. Do so not just for yourselves or partners, but also for your kids. Life remains rich and rewarding with endless opportunities for delight. Farewell.